baked and then served over a bed of rice. So let me get into the ingredients I'm going to use for today's experiment. The recipe calls for 3 cups of jasmine or balsamic rice. I would say use whatever rice you like. 3 cups, so I'm going to be using about 6 cups of water to cook this for about 15 to 18 minutes until it's cooked properly. 6 boneless, skinless chicken breasts. These come in packaged like this from the warehouse store, so they should be fine. With 6 breasts in this recipe, I'm going to say this feeds anywhere from 6 to 12 people. I normally can't eat a whole chicken breast in a meal. It's too big for me. I know some people who do, so figure one breast for each 1 or 2 people in your dinner party. And then 1 can of quartered artichoke hearts. This can measures 14 ounces. The recipe calls for 13 3/4 ounces. That's fine. 2 large tomatoes. I'm using Roma tomatoes, which are a little bit smaller than the large tomato. So I'm going to be using 3 Roma tomatoes. 1/2 cup of my zesty Italian dressing. And then I have here 1/4 cup of pesto. I made the pesto this morning, and this is what's left over. I'm going to save this as possibly a garnish at the end for the table. So those are the ingredients I'm using for this recipe. It looks kind of simple. The first thing I noticed in the recipe, well, even go back earlier than that, this appears to be like a 1 skillet wonder. The rice is being cooked in a separate pan. I've got the water heating over here. Everything goes into the skillet, but there's no mention in the recipe about the chicken breasts being browned in advance. So I'm going to put some of my, I call this my cooking olive oil. This is just regular pure olive oil, not the good stuff, the extra virgin. A little bit more in there. Bring that up to heat, and then I'm going to brown my chicken breasts in that oil before I actually make the dish. I think my oil has heated up warm enough. Carefully lay those in without burning myself. All right, I'm just going to let those cook for a bit until I'm satisfied they're browned enough, and then I'll flip them over and brown the other side. All right, my chicken should be brown. I put a lid on this because it was spitting all over the kitchen, and I put a rubber glove on because, let's see how this looks. Yes, that's nicely browned. I put a rubber glove on because one time when I took the lid off, hot oil spit up onto my hand. Yeah, that looks great. Okay, I'm going to let this oil cool a little bit, dump it into the can that the artichoke hearts came in, and then I'll be ready to do the next step as far as cooking the ingredients. The brown stuff that's in the bottom of the pan, that's called the fond. You do want to keep that because that'll flavor our ingredients. The recipe calls for dumping everything, those are the tomatoes chopped, into a pan, including the water from the can of artichoke hearts. I'm going to bring my heat up now. I'm not going to put there's the salad dressing. I'm not going to put the pesto in there just yet because I think it would taste better if I did the pesto as kind of a final dressing before serving. So I will give this a stir, and then scrape up some of those brown bits, the fond. The recipe says to boil this for a few minutes to reduce the liquid by about half, and then put the chicken on top and let it cook until it's cooked all the way through. I've been cooking this liquid now for probably a good 10-15 minutes. That's reduced a little bit, quite a bit actually it looks like, so I'm satisfied with that. My next step is to put my chicken on top. I'm just going to rest the pieces of chicken on top. And there's juice in the bottom of this dish, so I'm going to put that in there because there's no point in getting rid of that. This chicken here is cool enough now to handle. Again, more juice, get that in there. Okay, last of that juice. Then I'm going to put my lid on this and let this cook. The recipe doesn't say how long to let it cook, but I know for chicken to be safely done, it should be up to about 160, 165 degrees. I turn the heat off and let it rest. It'll probably come up another 5 or 10 degrees after that. So I'm going to check it periodically. I think I'm going to go 20 minutes to begin with, and then I'll check it periodically to see how long it takes it to come up to 160 degrees. Look at that temperature, 163. I would say that's the thickest piece there. Some of these others are thinner, so they should be at a higher temperature. Now that one's at 163, 162. That one's a little low at 151. These cooked for, and that one's really high, these cooked for about 10 minutes, actually. Yeah, I set the timer for 10 minutes because I wanted to check them after the first 10 minutes. And on medium-low. So I'm just going to let these sit for about 5-10 minutes now, and then I'm going to do my next step. This has been sitting for a while now. So I'm going to transfer this to a plate, the chicken anyways, just temporarily. Oh, it's smelling good so far. And this is when I want to stir in my pesto. I just felt like cooking the pesto in there was not something I wanted to do. I think by stirring it in at this point, it'll have a more of a fresh pesto flavor. Meanwhile, the rice has cooked. I've got the lid on the pan over there. It's just sitting and waiting to be used. All right, so that's now ready to go. My next step is to get it all plated. I've got a lot of rice and chicken, so I'm using my largest platter. I don't know if I'll put all this rice on this platter. It just seems like so much rice. Yeah, I'm only going to put about half of it on, not even half. On that platter. And then oh, that smells so good. That over the top. I like sauce like that I know will drizzle down into the rice and then flavor it. And then finally my chicken pieces. Hopefully these are warm, but they're cool enough to handle. Almost cool enough to handle. They're a little bit hot. Doesn't that look good? That is beautiful to set on the table. I'm ready now to taste it. I'm specifically interested in knowing what that rice and sauce is going to taste like. This should be quite good. All right, let's see how my chicken dish tastes. Thank you, Jim Wallace. Well, that's very good. The rice and the artichokes and the tomatoes and the salad dressing. It gives the rice a very nice flavor. Let me see how my chicken tastes. Chicken breast, of course, tastes like chicken breast, but it's tender. It's cooked just right. All right, I gotta go enjoy my dinner. For a printable PDF copy of this recipe with step-by-step photographs, visit the White Trash Cooking website and look on the home page or in the recipe archive.